are called as Drishya Kavyas in the Indian tradition. And in my presentation, which I had said, the video presentation, I have taken a small episode of the breaking of the bow by Rama. Shiva's Dhanushya, which was broken at Sita Swayamvaram. So in the Valmiki Ramayana, there is just a very cursory mention of how Rama, Lakshmana, and Vishwamitra, along with Vishwamitra, when they come to the city of Mithila, they get to know about the condition that King Janaka has put in front of the suitors who would like to seek the hand of Sita. And the bow is presented, shown in front of Rama, and he just asks permission whether he can lift it. He lifts it and strings the bow, it breaks. But when it is shown as a Drishya Kavya, a lot of other dramatic elements are added to make it actually visual poetry without deviating from the main story. So then, for example, you can have originally this doesn't take place in the court of Janaka, but when it is presented in a Drishya Kavya, the entire Sabha is shown at the court of Janaka, where all the other suitors, the kings from all over the land, they are present. They try their hand at breaking the bow, but they are unsuccessful. And it's finally Rama who gets up, the Veera Purusha, who in one go, he lifts very effortlessly the bow and strings it, and it breaks, and there is a thunderous twang of the breaking of the bow. So a very dramatic element is added to the simple incident of Sita Swayamvaram. So this tradition is inherent in the Indian art forms, where, as I said earlier, even the choreographer is a poet. So without deviating from the main storyline, certain elements can be added to enhance the episode and finally attain rasa. Does that answer the question?
Yes, I think it does. I think a question I have for Diletta, I think you say in your oral presentation that's been put online that Yudhishthira and Bhima do not have used to them these rupikas of a lotus-like face. Is that true?
Well, I have my presentation on PowerPoint now behind in front of me, so I'm checking as you asking me. Where as far as Mahabharata is concerned, Yudhishthira is the recipient of the Samastarupaka lotus eyes. For instance, Rajiva Lochana in Mahabharata 12, 38, 26, and some two others instances. And also Bhima is referred to as Kamala Patraksha or Kamala Vibhuda Lochana.
Okay.
But yes, not lotus face, only their eyes.
Yep. That's interesting.
Thank you.
Are there other rupikas relating to the face used of the main characters apart from the Padma Palaksha and so forth?
Well, this is not strictly pertains to this research, but I have managed to find, of course, other upamanas pertaining the animal semantic area. For instance, the eyes are compared to the ones of the bull. But in that case, sometimes, as for instance, the courage of the hero that is compared to the bull one or the lion one, that rhetorically are interpreted as an upamana samasa, so not really a rupaka, but a comparative compound. But yes, there are other cases of other animals or the other part of the face compared to other upamanas and belonging to different semantic areas. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, other questions? Anyone on the panel have other questions that they want to put to each other? I think Meenakshi has a question, but she's muted herself. We can't
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
May I ask Professor Fernando, sir, you were talking about the fact that even the author of the Mahabharata, maybe he could read Greek, and you were just speaking about that, and when we could not hear more about it. So could you elaborate upon it, sir?
Thank you. Yes, well, the use, I'm speaking about my conclusions, which could be accepted or not, but in my view, the use of so many Greek and Roman sources means, and even literal uses of this, means that he or his team, we could say, because there is also the possibility of a man working with a team of people, can read very well Greek and Latin, and they do it, and they do it in a very sophisticated way. And this is not so strange if we consider that the two basic things. No, the first is there are Greeks in India from the 4th century before Common Era, and let me tell you, for us, no, Indians were not stupid and are not stupid. Never. Only people who don't learn anything are really stupid. So they could learn it, okay? And this is the first movement, we could say, a first trend, which we know that doesn't end. Some years ago, people told, oh, in the 2nd century before Common Era, there are no more Greeks. Not at all. They keep their living and moving, and we know that they become Buddhist and a lot of things. No? At the same time, in the 2nd century before Common Era, there is the opening of the Han China territory through Emperor Wu. And this means that China becomes the center of all the movements in all the Eurasian continent. Fantastic moment for India. No? And we know it because we have thousands of informations of how frequent was to go from Egypt to India and coming back in a movement in which Barukacha and other Indian cities were much more important than any other city. So in this global movement, the easiest thing is to find people who were multilingual. At the same time, let's recall that the international language, we could say in this moment, was Greek. The enemies of the Greeks and of the Romans, the Parthians, were all of them spoke, all the kings and so on, spoke fluently and read Greek. So, and we know that there were people listening, Indian people, listening to Greek orators in the 1st and 2nd century in Alexandria, which is the center of the world, of the cultural center of the Roman, we could say, world with Rome. No? So if we take all these components, it is not strange that a genius, and he's a genius, could use all of this and have this information and use it for creating something which is absolutely unique and, of course, absolutely creative. And so I have to say I'm in love with him, no? With the author of the Mahabharata, because he's so interesting, so he can use things in a way that we can only compare, for example, to Virgil using the Greek tradition. So I don't think it is strange to find somebody who can grasp all these languages, because this was the normal world in this moment, no? With the 120 ships coming and going at the beginning of the Common Era from Egypt to India directly, not to say step by step, but directly, and with colonies of Indians in Socotra, in the Red Sea, and in Alexandria, and also people, Jonas, living in India. So the usual way of moving of people there was a multilinguistic world. So thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Fernando. We've only got 4 minutes to go. Has anyone else got anything that they're desperate to say, or any questions that they want to put?
May I ask?
Yes, go. Yes.
Yeah. First of all, I would like congratulations, Professor Ferrando. I just want to know. I just saw your expertise, field of Indian history and ancient history. I just want to know: is it Mahabharata? Is it history or fiction of history? What do you think?
Oh, it's fiction, yes. Absolutely fiction, a fantastic fiction, yes. Look, a lot of people think the same, but in my case, what I can say, the argument I can give is that we can see how he constructs the whole story with these different materials and then how he can construct characters or situations or cores of the story with Greek and Roman sources, and of course with Indian sources. So the creation is a whole global creation where we can find, for example, how Bhima in book 4, I speak about it because it's so easy and so fantastic, to see it. He can take components of Heracles for Bhima then, and also from Heracles for Arjuna, the question of the change of sex of Arjuna is taken from the Omphale and Heracles story, and at the same time he can use components of Heracles for Arjuna and for Bhima, and he can do it because he knows the techniques, and so it is not something that can happen. It is something that can be created mixing things. This is my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you to you. Thank you very much.
We're almost run out of time, and I'd like to thank everybody for the 5 presenters for offering us their paper. And as I said before, yet again, this shows the richness of the epic tradition in India, and I think Fernando in particular has inspired us to look beyond India for the sources and so forth. I mean, I think the Mahabharata is a fictional work, but I think it's very, very close to the interests of certain elite pressure groups who want to push a certain line, a political line and a social line. And I think that Kaushalya's paper alludes to that too in talking about Dalits, and also Professor Chakraborty in the Vrata, the economic aspects of the Vrata and so forth. And also Meenakshi's, I think Meenakshi's paper shows us the capacity for the Mahabharata and the Ramayana to keep growing. And we can see this in Bollywood, for example. They're so powerful as seen as sources for Bollywood. So it's quite clear that these texts are still very much alive. And there was a talk of, yes, I think that Uma Chakravarti, in talking to James Hegarty, made this particular point too in an hour session, that the text is still very much alive to the present day.